Raghuji, before we start recording,
Pardon?
what are we doing today? Which chapter and other things?
Oh, today we are supposed to be doing chapter 100 to 103. We finished and we are starting from 104. And page, I think 88, I think. Okay.
We need to start
80.
103.
We need to start 103, Raghuji, page 86.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Okay, let me see. Share. Okay, Shobnam.
Om 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 Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः यतः सर्वाणि भूतानि प्रतिभान्ति स्थितानि च यत्रैवोपशमं यान्ति तस्मै सत्यात्मने नमः ज्ञाता ज्ञानं तथा ज्ञेयं दृष्टा दर्शनदृश्यभू कर्ता हेतुक्रियायस्मात् तस्मै ज्ञात्यात्मने नमः स्फुरन्ति सीकरायस्मात् आनन्दस्याम्बरे वनो सर्वेषां जीवनं तस्मै ब्रह्मानन्दात्मने दिवि भूमौ तथाकाशो बहुरन्तस्मै विभुः यो विभात्मवभासात्मा तस्मै
Shobana, your voice go up and down. It muffles to almost zero. Would you chant the last one once more, please?
दिवि भूमौ तथाकाशो बहिरन्तश्च मे विभुः यो विभात्यवभासात्मा तस्मै सर्वात्मने नमः.
Yeah.
Could you hear it?
The last you chanted okay, but you're chanting okay, but for some suddenly the voice slowly muffles down and then comes back up again. I don't know why.
No, no, Maharaj.
Okay, go ahead, Amma.
We'll be doing the summary for Utputti Prakarana, sections 100 and 203. In this Prakarana, it's all about how this world is created and sustained by the infinite. And this is done through the limitations and the projections of our mind. So in all the three sections, I've done the summary for 103 also, which I'll restrain. So the 100 between 100, 101 and 102, all the three sections start off.
Do anybody else have problem hearing? Just me?
No, we also, Raghuji. Shobanaji,
Yeah.
you have to be
They're
nearer
locked.
to the mic or something.
Can you hear me now?
No,
Is it any
Still
better?
the voice is low,
oh, okay. I've kept it at the maximum now. Can you hear me?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. In all the three sections, we can still not hear. I continue.
You can hear, but like I said, it goes down and up.
I don't know why. Do you want me to log off and then log on? Maybe it will help.
Yeah, we'll try. Let's try.
Let me do it. 1 minute, please. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Is it any better now, Raghuji?
Yeah, much better. Thank you, Amma.
Yeah, because sometimes, with all this technology, stupid things like this only works actually. Yeah, coming back to section 100, the section 100 is focusing on the omnipotence of Brahman. This section, Sage Vashishta, he begins by saying that mind and chitta is usually
Same thing is happening. I
Let
don't
me
know why.
Is it any better now?
Yeah, it's better, but like I said, the last few words, it just, it went down all the way. No, we couldn't hear any word at all.
Put the AirPods in so that I'll talk from the laptop. Hopefully it'll be better.
Go ahead, continue.
Is it better now?
Yes, continue, Amma.
So coming back to section 100, Sage Vashishta begins by saying this mind is illusory modification of Brahman, and that it's nothing, there's nothing other than Brahman, and he is the power behind everything in this world. And then Rama asks the question, if the mind is making everything by its convictions, then why is bondage, which is sustained by the mind, illusory? So Vashishta gives an example of the waking state and says how a dream becomes illusory when you wake up. Similarly, when the mind turns toward the higher and wakes to the state of liberation, then all the mental convictions that you have, they become illusions. And mind is caused by the illusory power of Maya. That's what he explains. Then he says that even, he even says that the aspiration itself for liberation is illusory. But when the aspiration overpowers the desires of the mind, then you realize the non-duality of the real self. And there he gives the example of a snake and rope, and which is cited, which says that it all happens because of the mind is in the state of ignorance. To continue on this thought, he gives the example of the story about the illusion which is told to the child. So the story begins about three princes who live in the city of void, out of which two of them are not conceived and one of them is not born. And then he talks about how they travel through the country, they see the trees, the rivers and everything. And then at the end of that section, he describes that this is a story which describes the illusion about this world. And here the three princes are Ishvara, Jiva, and Manas. The world is the city of void. The rivers are the three gunas. The trees are dharma, artha, and kama. And the palaces describe the three states, sleep, dream, and waking. And the vessels are the three bodies. And enjoyments are like illusory grains of rice. And he says the three Brahmin guests who are invited for eating are childhood, youth, and old age. So all the metaphors of the characters used in the story have been described. Then he says, so the whole world is an illusion and it's entertained by the mind which is in the state of ignorance. And then we move to 102, which is about the immutability of the self. Rama asks the question, how can the eternal self create the imaginations of a fictitious self? And so Vashishta answers that it's the ignorance that sees the self through the veil of ignorance and sees the not self in the self. But when you start the spiritual sadhanas, your intellect is purified and you are on the path of self-realization, which leads to the destruction of the mind. And then he says self is never destroyed, and death is a change in the state of mind and space. And at section 103, I made a summary, but I think we didn't discuss it last time, right?
We did,
We did, yeah. That's what I had it in my notes.
Right.
So the section 103, it's about the evils created by the unenlightened mind. And here, it actually describes
how the mind using the self creates multiple words and word systems. And according to the description here, here it said that the individual mind communes with the total mind and projects the entire universe. And also it says that because of rajas and tamas, the mind forgets its own power and then it starts connecting with the illusory world. And then it becomes the triputi, it becomes the enjoyer, it becomes the object of enjoyment and the act of enjoyment. And he ends the 103 by saying that by spiritual insight only, you can recognize the world as the extension of the mind. And, and then you come to understand that the reality behind the mind is the self itself.
Beautiful summary. Very nice. So you can see that how beautiful this teaching is in Yoga Vashista, that only a candidate like Rama, who had such a absolute dispassion to the world, was ready for this knowledge, and that all this knowledge is being given by the Vasishtha Rishi to Lord Rama. Now, there's to show the illusoriness of this world, there is another beautiful story coming now. And so, the greatness of the Yoga Vasishta is that all these examples are given, and many of them are real things that have happened. So, what I see, this one is the King Ravana story is said to have really happened. So, we will read this one. So go ahead and read them, next 3 paragraphs.
Sections 104 and 105. King Lavana and the Magician. Sri Vashishta continued, O Rama, this illusion of the world process exists in the chitta, mental process. In order to enlighten you on this point, listen to the story of King Lavana. There is a country known as Uttar Pandava, and they were very prosperous under the rule of King Lavana. This righteous king was a descendant of the famous king Harishchandra of ancient times. He was endowed with generosity, humility, heroism, valor, and all the noble qualities that adorn an ideal king. His subjects were happy and contented. And even today, the people of that country sing the praises of that great king. One day, when the king was attending to his daily duties in this royal court, a magician entered and approached the king. Bowing his head low in respect to the king, the magician said, O king, allow me to show you the powers of my magic. May you enjoy this show while seated on your throne.
Want to say something?
No, just the story is just beginning, so let's see how it
Right.
brings out the concept of the illusory world.
Very good. Is Shirishama here today? No? Okay. Sudhirji? No? He's here. Okay. Go ahead. Continue, sir. The next 3 paragraphs.
Thus saying, the magician waved his magic wand of peacock feathers. At this very moment, a beautiful horse was permitted in the royal court as a gift from a neighboring king. The messenger who brought the horse spoke highly of the qualities of the horse and requested the king to ride it. Lifting his head, the king gazed at the horse and for a while remained still like a painted picture. His eyes closed and he passed into a state of trance that lasted for over 2 hours. The ministers and other officers did not dare to awaken the king, but waited with deep concern.
Go ahead and finish the next 3 paragraphs.
Then the body of the king shook, even like a mountain summit trembles from a mighty earthquake. The king regained consciousness like the blooming of a lotus, and with a gentle whisper asked, What country is this? Whose court is this? The minister spoke words steeped in humility to comfort the agitated king and asked, "O king, we are deeply worried about your condition. Your mind is endowed with excellent qualities, and it is impossible for such a healthy mind to be disturbed by the magical influence of an ordinary magician. Please tell us your experiences during your state of trance." The king spoke. "O ministers and royal officers, even the mind of a wise man can be overcome by dream at times, like illusion created by Maya. Listen to my experience induced by this magician."
You want to comment?
Oh, this is also no. It is, I know that nothing meant to comment on. He's actually maybe the next one. Once he explained the experience, we will have something to discuss.
Yeah. So just I want to read a few lines from the bigger book. Let me see what it says. It says, what do you call, the ministers are asking him, what were those pleasant objects of your desire? And I'm sorry. Anyway, let me read this one. He says, what were those pleasant objects of your desire that had so much bewitched your mind? Since you know that all the objects which appear pleasant for the present prove to be bitter at the end, the pleasure is often the introduction to pain, and amid the gross fears, repentance rears her snaky crest. I don't know why I made a note to read this one. It doesn't appear to be the right thing. I'm going to skip it. I'm going to come back and review it later and then decide. So the story continues, and now the king is going to tell what happened in the 2 hours when he went into what do you call a state like almost state of samadhi. So, and is Swaminathan here? No, he's been stopped. And Uma Shankar, you want to read the next 2 paragraphs, next 3 paragraphs?
Yeah. The King Lavana tells of his experiences during the state of France. The king said, "O officers of the court, you saw how this magician, desirous of showing me this magical power, waved his band of peacock feathers. You also saw how I was presented with a white horse. As I saw the horse, it seemed to me that I mounted and rode him out of the court. Though my eyes were closed, I experienced all of this within myself. This swift-footed horse carried me very far away, and no one followed me. I was led to a vast desert-like land that was devoid of trees or water. This wasteland stretched before me like an unboarded ocean. With a sorrowful heart, I continued to ride the horse, and only with great difficulty managed to cross that vast desert. Then I found myself in a forest abounding with jamun and kadamba trees. Jamun and kadamba trees. There were small fields of paddy cultivated by forest tribes. The horse would not stop, and in order to get off of him, I clung to a tree branch and let the horse race on.
Want to say something?
I don't know, funny dream, I think.
Yeah. So by the power of magic, he is thrown into a state of dream. So we will continue
Yeah.
to see that one. So is Veenaji here today? No? Okay. And Vijay?
Hari Om.
Ayam
I
sir.
was so exhausted that I withdrew myself into a hollow of the tree and passed a cold, sleepless night. Because of fear, that miserable night seemed like a very long period of time. Eventually, the sun gradually rose from the east as if it were drunk with the red wine. I got up from my strange bed and looked around at the area around me. I was suffering from pangs of hunger as the sun ascended in the sky and the glistening dew drops began to dry up. I saw a maiden carrying a plate full of food on her head. To me, she seemed like a goddess Lakshmi herself, carrying the vessel of nectar. Coming down from the tree, I approached that forest dwelling girl and said, "Oh, lady, I have fallen into the miserable situation. Hunger burns in me like a poisonous cobra. Please give me some food to satisfy my hunger." But the maiden would not give me any food. When I continued to pursue her, even like a shadow at some distance, she said, "Oh, handsome man, adorned with golden ornament, know me to be low-born Chandala, who feeds on the meats of horses and elephant. You may receive food from me only on the condition that you marry me, because people who are born on a low class like me do not give any favor to anyone else without receiving something in return. This food I am carrying for my father who is working in the yonder field. See how he is plowing the field with the help of oxen."
Yeah. You want to comment?
Again, it is a dream continues, nothing specific, and he's explaining to his courtiers how is he doing and all these things are happening in his dream. Thank you.
Yeah. The only thing that I see there is what that lady says. That people who are born of lower class like me do not give any favor to anyone else without receiving something in return. So for me, I don't know if it has got a birth anything to do with it, but a person who acts like that, I do favors only if I get something in return, is of a Rajasic or a Tamasic personality. So uh, he can be considered as a low class. So it doesn't matter. You hear stories of poor people, they are ready to share what little they have with the others when the others need it. So is Vishwanathan here? No? Yeah. Okay. Read the next three paragraphs, sir.
Having listened to her demands, I consented to marry her during adversity. Who cares for the rules of caste or the moral laws upheld by society? When I convinced the lady of my sincerity, she gave me half of the food consisting of cooked rice and wine from the jamun fruits. I ate, drank, and rested for a while. Then that lady of black complexion led me to her father, who was a gasless person I had ever beheld. Overjoyed with the prospect of marrying me, she whispered some honeyed words to her father and then asked permission from her father to marry me. Her father then stopped plowing and tying up the oxen, led us to his home. We three entered into the habitation of Bihil's forest tribe, where limbs of monkeys, chicken and crows, all swarming with flies, were scattered everywhere. The atmosphere was a living hell.
Want to comment?
I think I don't know how he is. He's kind of convinced to marry her. Probably that kind of from the previous paragraph. What it contrasts here is, you know, she kind of falls for his words and wants to share her food with her because he is kind of accepting her as his life partner. I think then the following para talks about the how their lifestyle is more of like the typical tribal lifestyle.
Yeah.
But what I'm not understanding, Raghuji, even though this is a story and a dream, why does he want to? Suddenly he's convinced himself to marry her. Like probably the following paras will talk about it. Or?
Now, you can see that he was so hungry, and because of the hunger, that he was ready to promise anything to get the food, because the survival is most important to start with. So that's the understanding that I get. That he says, I consented to marry her. Why? During adversity, who cares for the rules of the caste or moral laws upheld by the society? Okay. So the first thing is that I want to say, and number two, being a cultured man, so whatever that he promised, he wanted to keep his word that he would marry her, and so he decided to marry her. So number two, it's a story, and only when he gets married, and then the story continues. So
More
okay,
vasanas are built.
yeah, Akila continue, amma.
There I was led into a hut and made to sit on a plantain leaf. My would-be cross-eyed mother-in-law stared at me and approved of my being her son-in-law. Then, just as one is forced to enjoy one's sinful karmas, so I was driven by my strange destiny to eat the disgusting dishes given to me. In the midst of sweet words, which were in fact like seeds of misery, I was carried to the Chandala girl. I was married to the Chandala girl. The Chandalas drank and danced, and the marriage ceremony was concluded in the midst of great jubilation.
Continue with the next one paragraph too.
King Lavana continues to relate the story of his life as a Chandala. The king continued, after my marriage to the Chandala, I became a full-fledged Chandala. In the course of time, my wife gave birth to a female child, even as adversity gives rise to evil actions, and the child rapidly grew up, just as the worries grow in an unlightened mind. 3 years later, she had a son, and as time passed, we had another girl and another boy.
Want to comment?
I don't know, Raghuji.
So you can see in 2 hours, years and years have passed for him. So, Anjaneyulu sir, you want to continue next three paragraphs?
This is
Yeah,
like
Arun
So
Raghuji.
this probably just confirms that time and space are in the state of mind.
no.
Exactly.
This is like Mahavishnu is actually teaching, and Krishna is I think Mahavishnu teaching Narada about Maya, how it is. That story about Narada is actually becoming a woman and get married to a
Right,
king.
right. Yeah. So that's the thing. So the story is given to show, to give as an example from the previous chapters of how this world is so illusory. So, okay, Anjaneyulu sir.
Yeah. Just as the old turtle passes his time confined in a small lake, so I passed many years confined to the Chandala world. Although I grew old, my mind continued to be intent on maintaining my family and serving my children. Meat of oaks, monkeys, and other wild animals constituted my food, while the scars on my face grew because of mounting disharmony with the Chandala neighbors and the constant bitterness of my wife. Once I had a terrible fight with my family because of disgusting meat of a goat. As I continued to perform my terrible duties day by day, I suffered from the extremes of cold and heat. Buffeted by winds, burned by the blazing sun, drenched in rains, and chilled by the wintry weather, I advanced in age, and yet I continued to carry heavy burdens of wood on my head. Roasted by the fires of misery, my body turned black and I became true relative of Chandalas. So it is our samsara world is explained similar what we go through in our life.
Yeah. Looks like Ashwin is not here today. So, we'll go Dr. Noli. Looks like Dr. Noli might stop coming. He's next week, I think he's going to move to Arizona or somewhere. And
Raghuji.
oh, he's here. Oh,
Yeah, I'm here.
okay, go ahead, sir.
As I continued to perform my terrible duties day by day, I suffered from the extremes of. That was finished. No longer endowed with royal dignity, no longer possessing the virtue of compassion, I became the very personification of hellish cruelty. I passed many years like this, eating impure food, using gross and uncultured words, suffering from endless adversity, and living with groups of chandalas in the filthiest conditions possible. As time passed, the chandala habitation was plagued by terrible famine. Not raining for a long time, green grass and luscious creepers were scorched by the fierce rays of the sun. Water was not to be found anywhere, and wild beasts roamed the forest searching only for blood of their prey.
Go ahead and read the next one too.
Compelled by the circumstances, leaving behind my aged and debilitated father-in-law and other relatives, I, along with my wife and children, attempted to move out of that famine-stricken area. After traveling for a while under the blazing sun, we took rest under a palm tree. While my Chandala wife slept with two of her children, my eldest son, Richala, asked with tears in his eyes, "Father, please give me meat for food and blood for drink. I am dying of hunger." He repeated this again and again, though I continued to say, "My son, there is neither meat nor blood."
It will
Now,
continue.
the dream is still continuing, and I guess this reminds his hunger when he got married.
Yeah. Karpagam, want to continue, Amma?
Seeing my son writhing in the pains of hunger, I said, "Oh, my son, will you eat the roasted meat of my body?" To this, he immediately replied, "Yes, I will eat anything." Desirous of putting an end to my hellish existence, I collected some pieces of wood from the forest and setting them on fire, I threw myself into its hungry flames. At that very moment, I began to hear the royal drums of the court, and I became aware of being awakened by you people who are my royal officers.
Go ahead and finish the next two paragraphs.
Sri Vashista continued. After the king had completed his story, the ministers, with eyes of anger, turned towards the magician, but he had disappeared. Then, realizing what had happened, they said to the king, "Surely this could not have been any ordinary magician, for he did not wait for a reward. It seems that the divine Maya has appeared in the form of this magician. O Rama, I was the royal priest of the great king, and all this happened before my very eyes. O great soul, the mind has veiled the nature of the self and has extended itself in the form of the gigantic tree of the world process with its numerous branches, leaves, flowers, and fruits. By taking recourse to wisdom, allow this mind to be rid of its vasanas, subtle desires, for the objects of the world. Then the purified mind will be enlightened by wisdom and will not hide the self. With the veil of illusion removed, you will discover your essential nature.
Comment?
No, you go ahead. It's too
You
much.
see, the last two paragraphs summarize the whole thing. So he experienced that illusory world. And so his guru is explaining. Okay. The Guru Vashista, he says, he himself was a royal priest for that king, Lavana. How could it be? So the story is Vasishtha Rishi is one of the Manasaputras of Brahmaji. And he was made into the royal priest of the Sun dynasty. And through all these kings, up to the level of, up to the birth of Rama, Vasishtha Rishi was the royal guru of all the dynasties, even with Harishchandra and all that, from the beginning, from Manu itself. And only somewhere after Lord Rama's story, then we don't see Vasishtha Rishi, then we start seeing Parashara and Shakti and Parashara, and then the Vyasa as his children go. So, and you can see that what everything happened is really true, that happened. Okay, and he's telling the teacher, the whole thing, this whole world is nothing but a illusory world process, just like what he himself experienced. So it's just like a tree with numerous branches, leaves, flowers, and fruits. The whole world is a projection of that mind. But by taking recourse to that knowledge that the whole world is illusory, a projection of the mind, that one has to get rid of this vasanas or attachments to the world. Why? Hey, everything is nothing but a dream. I'm not going to be attached to this world, and one has to withdraw and contemplate on Brahman. As I said, then the purified mind will be enlightened by wisdom and will not hide the self. So, with the veil of illusion removed, you will discover your essential nature, that I am Brahman. So to indicate that, because that is the knowledge that Rama needed, and to give that knowledge, Vasishtha Rishi is going through all these stories. So in this Utpatti Prakarana. So
There is there is one commentary about this particular story. See, it says that Vedanta says that our real nature is without any suffering, deposited by the royalty in this story. We bring upon ourselves through our own latent tendencies unimaginable upheaval deposited by the life of tribesman. As in the story, a man with 1,000 arms in this block, we beat ourselves with stout sticks and never give ourselves any moment of peace. means, it says that we are Brahman, and we are actually not realizing it, and we are actually falling into this Maya, and we are beating ourselves. But if you wake up, you will really know your nature. That is what my
Yeah.
comment.
So, yeah, all this reading the stories, contemplating, and living, gradually changing our life to a sattvic life, and that our sattvic life should give us that liberation, take us to the Guru, and through the Guru, yeah, this knowledge that we already got, that I am Brahman, not this body, mind, the intellect, that should become firmer and firmer and firmer, and one day we will experience that pure Atman as the self. So,
Raghuji, am I right in saying that even though you have are having a sattvic life, if you have a vasana for being a chandala, you have to exhaust it. So you'll probably go through this trance again in your life, right?
right. Yeah. So actually, that's what happens to him. That whatever the we were going to see that, I think, later on, that whatever the vasanas that he had, for which the karmas that he had to go through as a chandala, he goes through it like in a dream in 2 hours and exhausts it. Otherwise, he would have had to go through the being born like that and live like that. But being the king, and those vasanas were exhausted in within 2 hours. So, that's exactly that we have to think. If you have any bad dreams, you just have to assume, hey, because of the God's grace, that I am exhausting these vasanas or the prarabdha by going through in the dream. So, like even in our own real life, the stories, so many stories happen like that. Sometimes you break your leg, and then you say, "Oh, I'm such a sattvic man. I'm always a careful man. Why I broke my leg?" Okay, 1 second, excuse me. Amog, I'll call you later. I got a class. Okay. And so, like he complained to the Guru, Guru says, from that accident, you could have died, but you just got away just by with a broken leg. Then that man contemplated on it and knew how bad the accident was, and so like that with what you call with Guru, and also the cause or sattvic life and the blessings of the God, that all these vasanas get exhausted, and then only the prarabdha, because of prarabdha, until the prarabdha is over, you live in this body, but as a jivan mukta. So, okay, I keep forgetting. We have a new member here, Miss Asha Chand, recommended by Maya Yadav. Hari Om Amma. Okay. Okay, you are muted. If you can unmute yourself and introduce yourself for a minute.
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम आशा चांद है, आशा अग्रवाल चांद। मैं मैरीलैंड में रहती हूँ।
इंग्लिश में आशा जी, इंग्लिश।
सॉरी, आई एम सॉरी। नमस्कार, माय नेम इज आशा चांद and I live in Maryland. I'm Mayaji's friend from 1973 from Canada, and I really have highest regards to Dr. Raghu and Mayaji and other all present devotees who let me join your group of Yoga Vasist. I never attended or heard anything. I have ordered my books of Yoga Vasist.
Okay.
And I am at the age of fourth phrase, चौथे पड़ाव में, in the fourth thing. So I want to learn many things like attachment, detachment, and many things, I belong to UP. I was born and grew in UP. UP religion was very limited. to only Ramayana part, Sundarkand part, Satyanarayan Katha, and Mata Ki Chauki. But when I came to US and meeting enlightened friends like you and some other groups, I am learning many other things like Brahma Sutra or Tattvabodh, many other things. Still, I am not learned anything. I'm a kindergarten kid. So thank you very much to include me in your enlightened and very knowledgeable group.
You are very humble because you have attended or studied Brahma Sutra and we have not done it yet.
No, I just heard some part because
Okay,
my one friend, she is very knowledgeable. She is from UP.
right.
She knows Kathopanishad, she knows Brahma Sutra, many things,
Very nice.
Taittiriya Upanishad. But
Good.
the good company, I'm just feeling that when I have good company, I will listen something and maybe I will learn one day. And with the effect of good company, we go to the good things and good directions.
Right. Yeah, like Shankaracharya says, Satsangatve Nisangatvam, Nisangatve Nirmohatvam, Nirmohatve Jivan Mukti. So
Yeah.
we all are in the right path. Okay. So anytime that you got the books, let us know in the next class if you had the books
Yeah.
so that you can
I
also
hope so,
read.
Dr. Raghu, that I should get my books because I told my daughter-in-law she has ordered.
Okay.
And
Good.
you are right, when the books we have in front of us, we
Okay.
get more focused and we can participate in discussion and many questions.
Right. Correct.
The
Very
books are
nice.
very important. I hope I should get soon.
Very good.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Mano Naidu, you want to continue, Amma?
Section 110, 110. The amazing power of the mind. Sri Vashista continued, mind consists of vasanas or subtle desires, and through their annihilation, mind is destroyed. This destruction of mind gives rise to liberation from the cycles of birth and death. O Rama, it is by ignorance that pure consciousness assumes the role of externalization and becomes tinged by subtle desires. Having forgotten its essential freedom, it follows the course of identification with the effects of ignorance. This is the root cause of all sufferings in life. When the vasanas are destroyed by wisdom, all forms of pains are removed, even as darkness is dispelled by the rising sun. What is near is rendered far by the magic of the mind. Where there is no fear, the mind projects fear. That which is static seems moving, and that which moves seems static by the illusion of the mind. Enemies are recognized as friends, and friends enemies by the power of the mind. In these three paragraphs, what mind is, there it is being, all what mind can do to you. The last one is telling us how the magic of the mind is, where you have, it projects all sorts of things. The fear, static area moving, and enemies or friends, friends, enemies, all those things. And the first two, actually, the first he starts with how the mind has the vasanas or the desires, and their annihilation, mind is destroyed. And once the destruction of the mind, there's no mind, liberation from the cycles of birth and death is.
Right.
Yes. And the second one, how the ignorance causes the consciousness to assume the role of becoming tinged with the desires and all that.
Yeah. So the ignorance leads to vikshepa. That vikshepa means all the vasanas in our causal body or the subconscious being projected out to experience, and it is this vasanas projected out as work as through our sense organs, and the organs of action lead to this various involvement in this world of duality. And so the same person appear like an enemy to one person and as a friend to the other person because of our own vasanas. So I consider as an enemy, but the other person considers as a friend because of our intermutual relations are different. But all these are projections of the mind alone. So very good. And Manoj is not here. Maya, continue.
Hari Om. When the mind is agitated, even the lustrous moon seems to send forth the darts of misery. Even nectar, when interrupted by the mind, is a poison, produces poisonous effect on the body. A human being is like a deer caught in the net of vasanas in the vast forest of the word process. And spiritual inquiry removes these vasanas of the mind like the rising sun that melts away the mist of ignorance. First assert, I am not this body. I am nothing but the mind. Do not consider yourself as a physical body, for the body is inert. Then know the mind to be neither inert nor of the nature of pure consciousness. Gradually, even the idea, I am the mind, will be removed by discovering your identity with the absolute.
Want to comment?
Yes. So here is saying with mind, you can see that friends are your enemies, or even, if you are getting like moon, seems like a sending the miseries for you. I mean, your mind can interrupt anything that not true. And then he's saying that by human body is just like a deer caught in a net. We are all caught in vasanas, and is like a forest word process. We are all in there. And then third paragraph is saying that first insert that I am not this body. That's the first step to start with. And then say I'm nothing but the mind. And so far this says that I'm not physical body. Then when you go further more, even you will discover, once you discover that you are with the absolute, that you are not even mind.
Right. Yeah. So that is our sadhana, and we have to continue to remember, and in and through our day in and day out life, that we have. If you can remember, I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, I am this pure Atman. Then we can start living in this world as a witness of like a drama. And we continue to play the roles like a actor in a drama, okay, knowing that hey, I'm just the self, I'm just playing these roles because of my prarabdha. So if you can live like that, then if my wife says something bad, I won't get upset. Okay, but if I attach to my body and mind, then naturally I get upset. So it's a constant process of reasserting aham brahmasmi. So that's why Shankaracharya's the Atma Shatakam is such a beautiful thing to keep chanting in our mind uh, whenever we have nothing else to do, like you're driving or no real physical activities we are doing, and we can continue to chant. Mano buddhyahankara chitta ninaham na shashotra jihve na chagrana netre na chavyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. So this is such a beautiful things that our Gurudev gave us this knowledge. So, okay, we'll continue. And Nag, you want to continue, sir?
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om.
Whatever the mind does becomes the karma of the person. For acts of the body without the assistance of the mind are rendered void. Mind has expressed itself in this entire world. It is the mind that manifests as the sky, as the earth, as the wind, and as the sun that illumines all objects of the world. When the mind is deluded, one is called dull-witted. No one is recognized as a dull-witted because of dullness of his body. When the mind intends to see, it becomes a sense of vision. When it inclines to hear, it becomes a sense of hearing. Therefore, O Rama, know it to be the mind that becomes the senses. A trifling matter is made into a mountainous problem by the delusion of the mind. And likewise, a matter of great sorrow is reduced into a trifle by an enlightened mind.
Yeah.
So even the story we just read and whatever we are reading here, it's giving me some interesting point to contemplate. The story basically, if I try to analyze the story in deep, I will go crazy. If I try to apply that story to my life, thinking, okay, I am a dream of somebody. If I try to go deep into that, that will be really confusing. I will go crazy because I will think, okay, I'm a dream of somebody. Why am I in a satsang? Thinking about liberation and all those things. And so it will be confusing. So that, and this paragraph tells me the purpose of that story is to let me handle whatever comes my way. Hey, it is just a dream. If something bad happened, say it is just a dream, move on. If something good happened, just a dream. If the bad, I think, okay, it is like the king living like a Chandala. And something good happened, it is like a Chandala living like the king. So everything is a dream and move on without taking anything into my mind. I think that is the purpose of all these stories.
I hope you are not going to tell Akila that she is just a dream.
Ultimately, that too.
So keep it in the back of your mind, but treat her as a wife. acting in the role of a husband. So very nice. So we will continue. Padmaja not here, Raja Reddy Garu not here. Rakesh ji, continue, sir.
Hari Om, sir. Mind is the thread that sustains the beats of the senses. When this thread is burned up by the fire of wisdom, the senses are easily conquered. Sustained by the light of the self, this mind exercises its unobstructed authority over this entire universe. It is common experience that when the mind is elsewhere, even a delicious meal, through well chewed within one's mouth, remains tasteless. Therefore, it is the mind that tastes, smells, hears, touches, and sees. In fact, it is the mind that projects the senses. Though seated in a room, one can experience the joy of being on the summit of a mountain, beholding the beauty of drifting clouds. The experience of a person depends upon his mind alone and not his body. See how, though lying comfortably on a bed, a person can experience mountains, cities, rivers, and numerous conditions of the pleasure and pain during his dreams.
Yeah.
Same thought. The mind is like a staying the beats of the senses, and what you do, unless mind is not involved, you are doing it. You are seeing things, hearing, listening, tasting, touching, because the eyes are there, but unless the mind is behind them, they can't do nothing because the mind has to be there. So say mind is the one that exercises the whole thing, whatever you see. And mind is, if it's elsewhere, like talking about second example, eating food. If mind is not in the food, you don't taste the food. Taste is really, food is good, but your mind is somewhere else and you think something else. So you really not getting the taste of it. So mind has a lot to do, and anything, hearing, smelling, touching, all that. And like he says, mind can take you anywhere, laying in the bed, sleeping and you're seeing everything what you want to see. You can seeing mountains, cities, rivers, numerous conditions in the dream, but they are all produced by the mind, product of mind, because you are not there, but you're still seeing them. So conquering the mind will really get realization, because as long as you are in the mind, you're just thinking, but to realize, you have to go realize the self, go over the mind.
Yeah.
Hari Om.
Yeah. So that is really living the Atman as an Atman 24/7. Okay. If you can continue to live like that, knowing that I am not the mind, I am the witness, then we are liberated. And the only thing is, it's hard to detach ourselves from the body and the mind. And so, but it's a constant process. And since it is like the knowledge that I am the Brahman is said to be the highest of all the knowledge, just naturally it is most difficult too. And at the same time, that knowledge is within ourselves. And so it's got a long way to go, but at the same time, it is the shortest thing, being that I am that Brahman. So we don't have to go anywhere, just have to continue to contemplate that I am that Brahman. And then Rani Natarajan, Ratnama, you want to read, Amma?
Okay, just as a tree expresses itself through its leaves, branches, flowers, and fruits, in the same way, it is the mind that expresses itself through waking, dream, deep sleep, and all the ramifications which go to constitute the tree of the universe. Whatever the thought is sustained by the one-pointed mind, that becomes one's reality. Therefore, having understood the powers of the mind, O Rama, do as you wish. Led by its own deep-rooted thoughts, sankalpas, mind creates the illusions of birth and death. Though limitless and formless, the mind has developed the illusion of jivahood, of the individual soul that continues to will through the cycles of repeated incarnation. It is amazing the power of the mind. It is unbelievable how, because of the mind, we are enlightened, and because of the mind, we are unenlightened. So one has to be really understood the thing and then remember the total Brahman is we are that one, not this mind, body, or intellect. Hari Om. Just like Swamiji says.
Continue to change our Ashubha Vasanas to Shubha Vasanas, and continue to detach ourselves from the interest in the world of senses, and continue to contemplate on that knowledge, Aham Brahmasmi.
So here you can add this mind, Uddareda Atmanatmanam.
Yeah. Atmanam avasadaye. Atmaiva Atmano bandho, Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. Thank you, Geeta. Very nice. Okay. Sarvesh ji, you want to continue, sir?
Yeah. In the mind is.
Hari Om, everybody.
Hari Om, sir.
Just as oil is hidden in the seeds, so too experiences of pleasure and pain are hidden in the mind. These experiences are elaborated through time and space and are further projections of the mind. When the mind is contented, the body feels delighted. It is the mind that goes, comes, rejoices, sings, and enjoys. The body is a mere illusion before the power of the mind. When the mind is restrained from its running after objects, it is brought under one's control even as a mighty elephant is controlled by an elephant tamer. When the mind is directed towards the truth, it becomes free from all distractions. He who has thus brought his mind under his control is truly the best of persons. But those who have not done so are like worms in the form of human beings. Yeah, he's continued to explain the power of mind and the vasanas that go with it. So it's and it has to be tamed with the good thoughts and restrained from running after the objects of the world. And when the mind is distracted, directed towards the truth, it becomes free from these distractions. So he's emphasizing the control of the mind and meditation as guidance.
Right. Constant contemplation, constant thinking, and constant control of the mind. All this anger, jealousy, all that, desires, all these things have to be controlled by the shama, dama. That's why this is called the six enemies: kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. One who has got rid of all those things, he's really a liberated man. Because he has become purified and he is able to concentrate on that Atman in his own self. Shobhanama, continue.
When the mind is contented, the body feels delighted. He just read it, so I'll read the next one. When the mind is directed, also he's read. The desires for the objects constitute the seeds of the poison tree of the world process. When the mind is directed to the self, these desires dissolve and the turbulent ocean of the world process disappears from the one's view. There's only one paragraph in this section, so I'll move to the next section. Section 111, the secrets of controlling the mind. Sri Vashishta continued, O Rama, now I will relate to you the infallible remedy for treating the disease of the mind. If you were to renounce the objects to which your mind is attached, you will overcome the mind even as a strong tusked elephant overpowers a weak elephant with broken tusks. Just as a child is led away from his toys, even so the chitta is gradually persuaded to renounce attachment and consequent distractions and is led to Brahman. So in these two paragraphs, continuing from last section, we see how we can control this mind and how we can make it renounce the attachments from the objects of the world. And the example given is, to overcome the mind, even the strong tusked elephant overpowers a weak elephant with broken tusks. So he says, you can control the mind, by through this chitta, by persuading it to be unattached from the objects of the world and focus to heading to Brahman.
Yeah. So, it's so nice that Vasisht Rishi is giving such a detailed examples and detailed way of how we should be able to control the mind. So the desire for the objects, I just said kama, krodha. So if you can get rid of the kama, then the krodha, lobha, moha, mada, all of them come under control. And so the desire for the objects of the world, objects don't necessarily mean the physical objects, even the name and fame, or even just the pleasures of seeing something. Okay, all these things one has to control. If something comes along, you enjoy, but if it's not there, you don't crave for it and you don't go after it. And if somebody has got it, you don't have to be jealous. Okay. If you don't have any desire, you really, even if the other person is a billionaire, if you are not interested in money, if you're happy with what you have, then you really don't have any jealousy with that person. Actually, you are happy. That person is rich and he is enjoying. So you can say everything is an attitude of our mind. So this is most important thing. So Sudhirji, want to continue, sir?
Yes. O Rama, the unenlightened mind is like a sheet of iron that is melted in the fires of meditation and good association, and then tempered and cut down by the instruments of pure reason. When a child has been disciplined by adopting tenderness along with firmness, he obeys the commands of his guardian. In the same way, when the mind is trained by the practice of yogic disciplines and by the cultivation of serenity, contentment, and other virtues, it becomes an obedient servant to the soul. Then there is no difficulty in conquering the mind.
Comment?
And it is actually just giving some Sage Vasishtha is actually giving some ideas about how to control it, and but control, not the control. I mean, yeah, how to control the mind. So it is. It says that through meditation and good association, and also Vasishtha is actually comparing it as a steel iron, and so as a using meditation and good association, we can temper it, or else it can actually get it control and direct towards I would say that Brahman. Earlier, with that is actually what actually I understood. But yogic discipline and cultivation of serenity and contentment and other virtues also has to go along with it. So then only we will be able to, then we will be able to control our mind.
Yeah.
It is, we can actually hear it says, see, after our associate, this satsang, right? We are here to, I think a lot of people actually keep coming back because of, I think, the benefit of it. That's what I think that earlier it says, as a child led away by a toys, we are also, this knowledge is actually kind of considered as a toy leading towards absolute, so that's why I think as as kids, we just keep coming back to get that toy.
Yeah. So it's a constant discipline, and like particularly he said the yogic disciplines. If you take the Ashtanga Yoga, most important thing to start with yama and niyamas. If a person who has perfected the yamas and niyamas, he has control. He has got a control over his mind. And then with the practice of asanas, then he will be able to stabilize his body to sit for meditation for a long time. And then with that, once with the yamas and niyamas, he should be able to withdraw the mind to himself, because all the vasanas will have come under control. And so like that, he can go into the step by step asana, pranayama, pratyahara, I forget the next three levels. So, yeah.
Dhyana, upahara.
Dhyana, pratyahara, dhyana.
Upahara. And samadhi.
Samadhi. Final stage is samadhi.
Dhyana and samadhi.
Yeah. Dhyana is contemplation on that knowledge that Aham Brahmasmi. And then the mind will completely disappear and there's no more thoughts. That is the state of samadhi. So,
Raghuji, I think this satsang is actually help you on this what is that called, Pratyahara, right? You just learn the things and you replace with our old thought with the good thoughts. That actually comes
Your voice is getting dragged.
knowledge.
Something happened to your audio.
Pratyahara means
We can't hear you. Just like what happened to Shobana. So in the beginning, in the end of the class, yours.
no.
Sudhirji, can you disconnect and reconnect?
Sudhir, you log
need
off
to
and log
disconnect
on.
and reconnect.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. And next is Uma. You want to continue, Uma?
He who is unable to conquer the mind by adopting the art of vairagya, dispassion towards the objects of the world, is like a warren among human beings, and yielding to the temptations of objects is a process of continuous degradation for the soul. When the purified intellect of a yogi recognizes objects as expressions of Brahman, then just as a powerful wrestler overthrows a child, so too the mind is overthrown by the spirit in man. 5 on those who do not endeavor to conquer their minds, which is the sole purpose of their existence and which could be easily accomplished by adopting the art of spiritual wisdom. They are indeed like jackals that continue to howl at the nectarine moon.
Want to comment?
Yeah, which is controlling mind, which is very hard. It roams around the world.
Yeah. That's why it's a slow, steady process, but it's a uninterrupted process. It's not that, oh, today I'm going to just do whatever I feel like doing. Okay. Tomorrow I will come to control. Okay. No. It has to be a 24/7. No holidays for the Vairagya. Because if you
my mind always
go ahead, Amma.
My mind always chooses the laziness.
Well,
I don't know how to control.
Then get physically active. You go and do the seva.
That is what pratyahara, right? Replace with something else.
No, pratyahara is withdrawal of the mind and the senses is the pratyahara.
Pratyahara, withdrawal of this mind and senses with some good thoughts, right? That is. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Change the scenery or move from the desk you're doing, something like that.
Very good. And Vijayji, you want to continue?
Yes, Hariom.
Hariom.
Control of mind is the goal of all spiritual disciplines such as service of Guru, study of scriptures, repetition of mantra, and others. Without keeping this goal in view, these disciplines becomes meaningless. O Rama, renounce the sankalpas, thoughts of objects, and the mind will be annihilated. Then you will abide in your essential nature, the self. Think of the self, promote awareness of the self. Think of the self, promote awareness of the self, and let your mind flow on the self. Thus, practice Atma Samvedana, constant awareness of the self. By doing so, you'll be able to free the mind of its thoughts and imagination and will be led on onto self-realization. I think here they're talking about how we can control the mind. So as Raghuji said, it is a continuous process. It can be a repetition of the mantras, whatever small work you're doing, but keep the mind on God, something of that kind. And it can be karma yoga or any of the yogas, bhakti yoga or whatever it is. And then thought of the objects, forget about start thinking about the worldly object. Start rejecting in the beginning by force, and then automatically mind will be trained to not look for those objects, and then automatically just that. Then start thinking about the self, the conscious Atma.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So you can say we don't know how much degraded we were in our past lives, how much degraded vasanas we have. Okay. But we should be happy that we are in the right direction of contemplating on the Atman. So we should never criticize ourselves, though I can't do this, I can't do that. Okay? Persist. Okay? Just like that story of the Robin Hood, when he saw the spider that climbing was not able to climb, and then it kept falling down, and then at last, after about 100 attempts, it reached this whatever height he wanted to go. Same way that we should not give up. We should continue to put effort, effort after effort, and we'll continue to make small steps every day, and we will see that we will achieve that goal. Just like somebody wanted to become a doctor, and when he was told, oh, it takes 16 years, they said, oh, it's going to take 16 years, I can't do it. So after 16 years, he was still real dumb. But if he had practiced, studied, and contemplated, he would have become a doctor in 16 years. So the same way that we should never give up. It might take lifetimes, but that all continue. And the greatness is we will see the benefit in our own little footsteps, that our mind becomes calmer, and that we enjoy the company of the satsang, and we know we are in the right path, and that we are blessed by the Bhagavan to continue on the path. And so we should never give up. So, okay, Vishwa, you want to continue, sir?
Very much. By exercising your subtle intellect, the first grasp the fact that Brahman is reality behind all names and forms. Then through constant vigilance, allow your mind to flow onto Brahman. Let your chitta be overpowered by chit consciousness, and thus you will abide in the self. Do not let mental agitation interrupt your spiritual movement. It is the absence of agitation that enables one to acquire lofty attainments. If you overcome your mind, even victory over the three worlds will be as insignificant as a straw. Continue, Ravi.
Continue one more paragraph, yes.
While attainments of earthly glory depends upon physical effort and painful labor, the attainment of mastery over the mind is brought about by the blissful process of understanding and enlightenment.
Comment?
Yeah, Swami is continuing with the process here. Yoga Vashista is talking about continuing to talk about the controlling of mind, and he says that would be through that process, as Gurudev always says, you attach and detach. You always try to raise your level from the lower sense to the higher sense. So through that process, your attachment towards the materialistic world is slowly evaded, and then you always seek for the highest state of achievement, which is the enlightenment.
Yeah. So like that first paragraph, that through constant vigilance, allow your mind to flow towards Brahman. That is a constant meditation, constant contemplation that Aham Brahmasmi. Any chance you get when you are not doing anything, you let your mind go back to that knowledge. So either in the form of a japa, as a devotion to Bhagavan, Rama, Krishna, whatever you repeating the name of the Bhagavan, or constant contemplation that you are that Brahman.
I think it
Brahmasmi is not a
emphasizes.
japa, but it should constantly be in our mind. So you can start with japa, and then the mind becomes quieter and quieter, and your continued study of the scriptures lead to that knowledge. Instead of all the vasanas, your vasana is that Aham Brahmasmi.
I think these a couple of paragraphs emphasizes the importance of daily purification.
Exactly.
You are by unknowingly you're going to create more vasanas. So the daily purification is very important, is what.
Right. It doesn't mean that you should not work. Do your work, earn what you are earning, but no, everything is or short-term goals, but the long-term goal is realization. Even the short-term goals that you are achieving is as an intermediary towards the final goal. That everything, like Bhagavan says, dedicate everything to me. Dedicate everything to me. What all you do from morning, from you wake up until you go to bed, dedicate everything to me. So that way, you're contemplating on that Bhagavan, developing that bhakti. And Dvaita bhakti will gradually become Advaita bhakti. So.
In that previous paragraph, right, Raghuji, that it says, right, think of the self, promote awareness of the self, and let your mind flow onto the self. That will be continuously get practiced and
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So if you can just type that and put it in a card and put everywhere and constantly contemplate on it, that should be very beneficial. So we got one more page. If you want, we can continue and finish it up. If we can spend about another 10 minutes.
Sure.
Okay. Let's go to Akilam.
Do not resign to the concept of destiny. The notions, I am this person, I am dying, I am born, I am alive, etc., are expressions of the erroneous vision of the mind. The self is neither born nor subject to death. Birth and death are imagined by the mind and erroneously superimposed upon the self. People continue to grieve for their brothers, friends, and dear relatives, but all in vain. The self is ever unaffected by the union or separation, birth or death, meeting or parting. There is no room for grief when the self is realized, and you will not be affected by the worries and sorrows of the mind. If you have cultivated the understanding that objects that seem to so pleasant to the senses are in reality insignificant, and if your mind does not flow towards life, towards wife, children, and other dear relatives, but towards Brahman, then you have definitely severed the limbs of the mind.
Comment?
Well, he says here that birth, death, relatives, dying, missing anybody is all in the mind. The self is ever present. Everything else is asat, and this is the sattvastu. And so if we keep our mind clean and away from all these sense objects, focused on that Brahman, then we are severing away the limbs of the mind.
Yeah. So live in this world, but not of this world. That's most important thing we have to remember. We love everybody because everybody is nothing but that manifestation of that Brahman. Not because, oh, he's my brother, my son, my husband. No, everybody is nothing but Brahman. So if you can develop that attitude within the family, then we will spread it at work, wherever you go, everybody is nothing but that manifestation of that Brahman alone. So slow and steady, but if you continue to do it, we can achieve it. So
Yeah, Raghuji, I just want to give my personal experience. After we actually going through this for some time, right? So last year, when my mother and my parents, when both of them died in a span of 2 weeks. First week, I was able to control it, and the second week when the mother died, so I actually had this felt, but I was not, then these things actually came to my mind. And so I was not in sorrow or something, but I had this particular feeling that, oh, I never see this. I am seeing my mom for this many years, and suddenly she is not anywhere. Okay, so I will not be able to see that is the only, what that called thought process was going through.
yeah,
So this class is actually helped me during that period, I
right,
would say.
exactly. So that's the test. All the circumstances in life are the tests for our progress. If I continue to think about my mother and continue to cry and cry and cry, even after months and years, then you know that you have not made any progress. But you definitely cry when your mother dies, okay? Because you remember that she gave birth to you and she gave the opportunity for your spiritual growth. And so you're thankful to her and you respect her, you love her, but there it stops. She is also a jiva, and you pray for her for spiritual continuation. And Anjaneyali, you want to finish, sir?
Sure, sir. The idea this is mind constitutes the body of the mind. But when you sustain the idea this is not mine, I am not this body, then this body of the mind is slain by the sword of wisdom. When you don't entertain the erroneous thoughts of I-ness and mindness, the mind is scattered like clouds by the wind of wisdom. It is the unconquered mind that leads to great fear, and it is the unconquered mind that leads to the abode of fearlessness. The terrible afflictions of the world arise like mirages in desert sands by the mind that has not been conquered. Even if the winds of destruction were to blow, the oceans were to overflow, and 12 suns were to blaze forth in the sky, for him who has vanquished the mind, there is absolutely no loss. As burning embers are reduced to dust, one joyously sees the gradual disappearance of the scorching fire. In the same way as the mind is destroyed by the practice of wisdom, a yogi experiences ever increasing joy. Beautifully. So, Nispruha, Nirmama, Nirankara. So, three factors. So, Nispruha is detachment, and uh, Nirmama, mama is mama, I-ness, and my and Ahankara is I-ness, and mama is minus. So these three are to be make one. It results in the destruction of the mind, and it the yogi experiences is ever increasing joy. Niratisya Sukha Prapti or Paramananda Prapti is
Yeah,
mentioned here.
yeah, yeah. You got it right. So I has a body, mind, the intellect, and mind has these objects and relatives around. If you can get rid of them and realize that I is real, the Atman, not the body, mind, and the intellect. It's a constant process. That's all we are doing. constant contemplation. If a person cannot have that single-pointed mind, you continue to study or continue to do the japa, continue to read, continue to do satsang, continue to listen to the YouTube channels about the same subject on the same matter. Continue to contemplate again and again and again until your mind is withdrawn and in the state of bliss. That's the last sentence. It says, as the mind is destroyed by the practice of wisdom, yogi experiences ever increasing joy. Why? Because my nature is joy. My nature is Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa Atma. Only the mind superimposed on it, causing all these agitations. When the agitations subside, then you see the reflection of my Atman in my own self. That pure Brahman Ahamasmi. You don't have to say it, you are it. So, beautiful chapters, this
I
today.
think that crux of that destroyed by the practice of the wisdom, right? You have to, the practice of that practice is the key, right, Raghuji?
Right. Yeah. Practice, practice, practice. That's what Bhagavan, Lord Krishna says, that when Arjuna asks, this mind is so fickle, it cannot be controlled like this, the wind. Then Bhagavan says, you are 100% right, but with Vairagya and practice, you can achieve it. So develop detachment to the world of objects and continue to practice meditation on it. So the whole chapter is nothing but pure Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasanam. So, Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaः, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma